There's so many fun techniques that you can learn in knitting. Today we want to talk about double knitting, which is something that we learned from a local lady a few years ago. Would you like to start casting on, Arne?
Yes.
Great. And in the meantime, I'll talk about double knitting. It means literally that when you knit, you're knitting two sides of something at the same time. And you get the same design on both sides, but one is a positive and the other is the negative. And you can use this double knitting technique to knit all sorts of things. If you start by doing a little square, it can be used as a coaster. You can go on to pot holders, and then you can do mouse mats if you want to, use some for your computer. You can do scarves. It's actually really good if you're going to do Fair Isle patterns on scarves, because you'll get two sides and you won't get those threads that hang out on the back.
You can do blankets.
Blankets.
Also.
You can do patchwork blankets.
Patchwork
knit
blankets.
Different squares and then sew them together, and then you've got a double-sided blanket. You can do hats.
This is going to be a blanket.
That's going to be a blanket, yeah. But how about hats?
Yeah.
You can do reversible hats that you put on and change them.
Anything.
Anything. So we're going to tell you how to do it, and we start by casting on a certain amount of stitches. If you want to do the coaster, or sorry, the pot holder, cast on 70 stitches. You're casting on 35 stitches of each color, and you're alternating. So if this is a red and white design, you cast a red one, and then a white one, and then a red one, and a white one, and so on, until you have 70 stitches on your needles, which is what you're doing now.
So it will look like this.
If you're going to do a little coaster, I think it's enough to cast on 40 stitches or maybe 50 stitches, 25 of each color.
But you cast on like this like you change thread for every stitch.
Every color, yeah. So one gray and one blue in your case.
One blue, one gray. So when you do the pattern, you have to think about the two stitches next to each other as one stitch. So you have to remember that you're knitting, like on this, you knit one blue side with gray pattern, and on the other side it's a gray side with blue pattern.
Yeah. Now you will always need two colors, and you will always need to have a design inside of what you're knitting. If you don't, then it will split like this. So
should I start to knit my way on this one, just to show? I do the easy one, the one with the pot holder with squares like that.
We've been teaching this class and we've done some workshops in it, and our experience with these workshops is that it actually is a very different way of knitting it depending on whether you're a thrower or a picker. Arne will show you the way to do it if you're a picker, and afterwards I'll show it the way you do it if you're a thrower.
I start just to show you. Then I do the picking. First I take off the first stitch. I put the needle under the two threads and I take off the other one, because we think it's nicest when the first stitches are slipped off. We don't knit the two first ones. And then I keep the blue as a knit and the gray as a purl in the beginning, because then it's easier to remember. So then I knit the blue one from the finger like that. And now I'm making a gray purl, then I have to put the blue away. And then I do a purl under. Like that. So I knit the blue, I lift the blue yarn away, and I do a purl under the blue yarn. One more time. Blue knit, put the blue away, gray purl. And then when I change color, I start with the gray, which is now a knit. So when you change color, you get two colors next to each other. That can be very confusing.
Yes.
So, and now the blue will be a pearl on the gray. So I put the gray away and I make a pearl in blue. And then a gray. I put the gray away and I make a pearl with the blue. So, and one more. So I do knit gray, put the gray away, and I do blue pearl. You don't see it yet, it's a bit too early, but when you do the second needle, then you will start to see the pattern.
Okay, now I'm going to show you the technique that you use if you're a thrower. And to do that, I have to change places with Arne because it will be easier to show you if I do that. So,
Yes.
Are you ready to change places?
I'm ready.
So, to start your row, you are going to slip the first two stitches, and you have to make sure to have the thread facing you. So you slip the first stitch like this, and then you slip your second stitch. There we go. And now I have both threads facing me. So we're going to do exactly the same thing that Arne did, but instead of picking, we're going to be throwing, and we're going to be knitting, and we're going to be purling the stitches. So you take both threads in your hand, and then you put them behind the needle like this, because this is going to be the first. This is going to be the first knit. And what you want to do is you want to make sure, because the knit is going to be in red and the pearl is going to be in blue, so you have to make sure that your blue thread is behind your red thread so that you don't block the threads. So I throw this one out on the needle and I knit it, and then I take both threads and I move them forward like this towards me. And now I'm going to be purling, so I want to make sure that the blue stitch is in front of the red stitch so that we don't block them, like this. And I purl that. Then we go backwards, or back with the threads against you, and make sure that the blue thread doesn't block the red thread. And we knit the red thread like this. Move them forward again towards you. Make sure that the blue thread is under the red thread and that the red thread is not blocking, and purl. Like this. As you can see with my pot holder, I have knitted a little bit more than Arne, and you can see already here that when I knit, I'm knitting the one side against me, and when I'm purling this side here. And you just keep going. Make sure that the thread doesn't block. Purl towards you, against you, away from you, sorry. Knit towards you, make sure the blue thread is under the red, and you can see now, if I pull these, you can see both sides. So this is going to be a purl. So what happens now is that I've knitted 10 stitches. I've knitted 5 in blue and 5 in red, and now I want to change color. And it's very important to change color at one point, because that is when you actually lock the stitches together and you get this inside, whereas you can see the threads, or the threads where I changed the color, are blocking and holding the pot holder together. If you don't change colors, then you'll just be knitting two completely separate parts. So it is very important, right, Arne, at some point to change colors to keep them together. That's what holds them together. And so let's see. Yeah, I purled, so now I'm gonna knit. But instead of knitting the red one, which is what I've been knitting previously, I'm gonna knit a blue one. And when I knit the blue one, you don't even have to think about where the threads are, because it's gonna block it anyway. And that's what's gonna hold it together. And that, my friends, is how you do double knitting.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And one thing to know is that if you throw, like I've been throwing, it's going to be real slow. And Arne is going to beat me. So by the time we finish, I'm probably going to be finished after you.
Yeah.
But it's not a competition. It's not about who's the fastest knitter.
And when you get into it, you can do difficult things. Like this is easy. It's nice for practicing.
This is like intermediate.
That's harder.
That's much harder. And then when you go completely crazy, you can knit a reindeer.
That's
here,
hard.
the reindeer is black. And here, the reindeer is white. And it's all double knitted. And it took ages to do.
Forever.
I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Let's knit.
Let's knit.